Hey guys, what's up? It's Darkmake here and welcome back to another Mythic Plus guide. Today we're doing Temple of Sethraliss. So post 8.1 this dungeon isn't as bad anymore and it's actually become one of my faves. So I'm going to give you the strat that we've been using in here over the last week. Now last week's affixes were, this week's affixes I should say, were Teeming, Fortified, Infested and Quaking. When it's this one, we're going to wait for the first Quaking to go off. We don't have a rogue in our group, so we're going to send our healer with an invis pot off and to the left to die in the middle of the stairs, pretty much between the pack at the bottom and the top of the stairs. Once he's in position, we are going to run down and we're going to die at this pack at the top here, and we're going to get a mass res off. Now, if you have a rogue, you can actually shroud down this path. Now, on teaming weeks, you may actually have to shroud down to the right side and come across from that direction, as there's these two Shrouded Fangs that can make it quite difficult to get down if you are trying to shroud on teaming weeks. But if you do try and shroud, you need to come down the right side of the wall, then transition in this doorway over to the left side and shroud around. That way you will also need to use a Sky Step Potion or a Speed Pot of some sorts to make it to this position. So just know that, otherwise you can invis or get your healer to invis, die, and then mass res. The advantage of all not invis potting is obviously that you will have 4 people that can then use DPS pots rather than be locked out of pots for 10 minutes from invis. So once we're up, eat, scroll, whatever you're doing, we're going to go and pull this bottom pack here. Now the Marksmans will do a thing called Power Shot. It's a straight line ability. Make sure you're not standing in the direction the power shot's going. It's pretty easy to deal with. The Stone Fist, the Sand Fury here, if you're a caster or your healer, make sure that you are 30 yards away from the group. It'll do this mini pound interrupt that will interrupt you from your casts, the ground pound there. The Charged Devil will do a thing called Healing Surge, which you obviously want to interrupt. Now, down the bottom here, there's going to be these Shrouded Fangs. Now, on teaming weeks, there are 3 Shrouded Fangs down the bottom. Normally, I think there is either 1 or 2, stretching my memory with that one. Whenever the Shrouded Fang comes out, it is going to cheap shot you. So you need to be careful. Try and pull these sort of against the wall, up a little bit even further on the stairs than we are now, to avoid pulling the Shrouded Fangs in when you are fighting this group fresh. They do cheap shot and they can cause you a hell of a lot of issues if you're struggling on that pack. Once they're dead, there are 2 more Shrouded Fangs in this area. We killed the hatchlings. They usually hang around the hatchlings, but we had no idea where the other 2 were here and they weren't linked to the hatchlings. So we're just going to go on the boss. We end up actually pulling them with the boss because they pad around this entire area, which is far than ideal. Try and get them out if you can find them before pulling the boss. So we're on to the first boss, Sethraliss and Aspects. Now, Aspects always starts with the lightning shield, and the pro tip is that you don't want to fucking hit the lightning shield, guys. Hit the one without the lightning shield. The lightning shield's a buff. It's active on one of the bosses. It's always going to be active on one of them, and it reflects damage on whoever hits it. Each boss has an energy bar. It fills up as they're buffed with the lightning shield. Upon reaching 100 energy, they do their special ability. Once they've done their special ability, the lightning shield will transfer to the next boss. Now you want to stay spread out at 50% energy. Aspects is going to apply an ability called I think it's Conduction to a random person. When that expires, it deals a massive amount of damage to everyone within 10 yards of them, so you need to spread for that. At 100% energy, Aspects is going to cast a thing called Static Shock, which is massive raid-wide damage, which you saw go out before, and you may need to roll a cooldown to survive that. Sethraliss, on the other hand, at 100% energy, will cast this thing called Arc Dash. It's got a pathing that gets mapped out on the ground by the white arrows. Make sure you just move away from that white pathing dash arrows that are going down, and you will be absolutely Gucci with that. When Sethraliss loses the shield as well, he'll do this Cyclone Strike he's doing now. He faces a random player and he sends out 4 Cyclones. You just need to make sure that you are not getting hit by them. In 8.1, they actually changed those Cyclones. They now do sort of ticking damage as they go through you. So every one you get hit by, it will continually deal damage to you each time it hits you rather than just one hit, and it deals quite a bit of damage. You can see Aspects also does this pushback here with Sand. As a DK, you can just Death's Advance against this and not have to worry about it. Otherwise, just point it away from your group and run into it. Aspects will also cast a Gust. You just interrupt it. That's pretty much it tip for this boss, guys, Aspects does no damage whatsoever. So if you do manage to get Adderus down and you've got a few people dead and Aspects remaining, you can still do this. It's not a problem. So we're just going to fast forward through that. Once that is down, we're moving back over to the side. We're getting a res on Dugs, and we're going to run down this little gauntlet here. Now, you just need to dodge the arrows here, and there's going to be this Crowlusk Rider coming up here. Infested is going to vary, week to week. So as always with the same infested rules I go with, guys. If you can CC infested and pull other mobs around it, always do that. If it's an infested, next to a mob or something like that, you don't really need to CC it. You can just zerg the infested mob down and then just make sure you kill the Goonies. But manage your infested dungeon to dungeon, affix to affix, week to week, group composition, whatever you've got. You can now interrupt the Electrified Scales, which is a huge bonus. The Crowlusk Rider will also cleave, so always face them away, and they'll do a Noxious Breath as well. So always face Crowlusk Riders away from your group. As the tank, when they go to do that Noxious Breath as well, make sure you're sidestepping it. So we're just killing the Goonies, and we're coming up to this pack up the top here. The Marksmans are the big ones here, as they are starting off in a sound cloud. You need to get them out of that sound cloud. Now, you can pull them, and you can actually just pull these mobs all the way back, and the Marksman will run out of there. Otherwise, the cloud will actually dissipate, and then you can grip them out. You can Ring of Peace them out and get them out of the sound cloud that way. Again, just make sure they don't get a chance to recast it. You can see the power shot going off here. Pull these down as well, guys, just to try and avoid pulling any extra packs. You do not want to get the ones at the top. If you have a rogue, you can totally shroud these 2 packs as well. By going up to the right, you can shroud these 2 packs that we're going to pull and save yourself some time. So again, slight advantage to having a rogue there. With the Crowlusk Rider, again, keep it faced away, watch the cleave, interrupt the Electrified Scales. If Electrified Scales goes off, purge it. The Marksman will be doing the power shot, just watch out for that. Once they're dead, we're hugging the right wall, and we're going to take this Marksman here, the Venomous fucking whatever it's called. And there's also 2 Shrouded Fangs here that pat this entire walk length on teaming week. So just, again, be aware of that. If you hug the right wall, though, you can pull these Shrouded Fangs, and if you try and stay sort of where we are, you won't actually pull this padding Crowlusk right at the top. Ring a Piece and things like that don't work on them. The Marksman's in a sand cloud, so that doesn't actually aggro the Crowlusk Rider, which we actually get really lucky on there. You would want to pull these back a long way further than this. With the Venomous ones, guys, they will stack a poison on you, so make sure you dispel the poison if you can. Otherwise, the exact same rules apply with the Shrouded Fangs, with the Marksman and things like that. The Shrouded Fangs don't really do much other than a bit of damage and cheap shot you when they come out. Marksman, watch the power shot, that's about it. Moving down here, we're killing the Crowlusk Rider, we're facing it away, the cleave, the Noxious Breath, same stuff again there, guys. And then we get down to this bottom pack at the bottom of the stairs here. With the bottom packs, Incubators, Tenders, and another Crowlusk Rider. So again, same rule again, we're facing our Crowlusk Rider away from our group. The Crazed Incubators will do a greater heal that you may need to make sure, the Tenders do the greater heal, you need to interrupt that. The Incubators will do this lightning in a bottle. If you can interrupt it, do so, otherwise it'll put a patch of lightning on the ground. Just make sure you move away from that. You've always got to be dodging the cleave, you've always got to be dodging the Noxious Breath and making sure you're facing the cleave away from your group. Try and pull. You want to try and do this obviously to your group's capabilities in regards to what you can do, but you want to try and get through these areas as quick as you can. They're not half as deadly as they used to be now, post 8.1 with the nerf to the greater heal on the Tenders. The Crazed Incubators will also blow themselves up at the end. I think we're getting towards the end of one here where you should be able to see they'll do, I can't even remember what it's called. It's Philatric. When that blast goes off, it's basically a suicide bomber routine. Make sure you're running the fuck away from them. They'll do that lightning in a bottle, as I said before, interrupt it. They'll also put a venomous dot on you. Again, just dispel it if you can. Otherwise, you're just going to have to sit there and take it. Making sure you're always facing the riders away. You can see it's the same trash over and over, essentially, in sort of the different sections of the room. And you just handle it all the same way. We're trying to just pull everything that's not infested that we can at the moment. And then, what have we got here? We've got a Crowlusk Rider that's infested, so we're going to pull that by itself. Kill this Crowlusk Rider that's infested by itself, and then continue pulling all the non-infested mobs that we can. The 3 Tenders in the middle, we're going to pull them with another Tender, so we've got 1 Incubator and 4 Tenders here. Again, you can see the venomous spit goes out to spell poisons if you can, guys. The big thing here, again, are the Tender's heals. So the heal got nerfed, but you still don't want to let them get off. Best thing you could do is assign interrupts or assign one to make sure you're interrupting that one and getting it down. The Tenders will also run off to eggs and they will drain. Knockbacks do not cancel the drains. I should have mentioned this in the packs before as well. You need to hard CC stun to interrupt a drain. So Asphyx will work, Leg Sweep, Cap Totem, Chaos Nova or whatever it is from the Demon Hunters. That stuff works, but gripping off doesn't, Ring of Peace doesn't, Typhoon won't interrupt it either, so just be aware of that and you want to cancel those drains if you can, but the big thing is making sure that you are interrupting the greater heals when they're going off. So we're killing them, and then we're on to the second boss, which is, what the hell is it called? Merikathar, that'll do. So the snake boss, you can drag it over to an edge to try and negate sort of where the noxious breath is going to go. However, it's always going to spin in a rando direction. So you could always stack as a group over on the corners and see if it'll breathe it onto the group. But I'm not sure if the boss will just still spread and breathe shit in a massive, like, sort of rando direction anyway. People are going to get knot of snakes on them. With the knots, guys, any hard CC you have will break the knot straight away. So Asphyx, Paralysis, Leg Sweeps, Cap Totems, In-Cap Roar, Intimidating Shouts, Nova, Imprison. Use whatever you've got in that regard. Shockwave, as well, Storm Bolts, to get people out of knots ASAP. Or if you don't have any of those options available, you will have to DPS them down. You can also human racial out of it as well. But if you can, make sure that you are hard CCing straight away whoever gets put in knots, as it can get a bit risky if they're in a shitty poison patch or if they're in the path of a breath. The boss is also going to cast Blinding Sand. You just need to make sure you spin away from that cast when it's going off so you don't get stunned or disorientated. It's pretty easy to manage. Just spin your camera away. Otherwise, it's going to do the Noxious Breath. Make sure you're not standing in it. It's also going to summon these sand-crusted strikers. They will drop sand clouds or clouds of sand or dust clouds, that's the word I'm looking for, on the ground. When they're in them, you cannot hit them. It's like a smoke bomb. So make sure that you are interrupting them before their dust clouds go off or dragging them outside the dust clouds. You can Ring of Peace them away. They are susceptible to CC, so make sure you're just nuking them down as fast as you can. And that's pretty much it for this boss, guys. It's pretty solid. It's just a repeat thing. It goes underground, it burrows. That's about it. It'll never come up where it finishes either. That's something that's tilting worth mentioning. So then we're on to the next set of trash going down here. So there's these Nimbuses here. The Nimbuses will cast out a shock, charge. They'll then release a charge. If it has any stacks on it, you can purge the stacks off it, meaning the charge does pretty much nothing from these accumulate charges. You can see how it gets a buff on it there. You can purge that buff on it, so when it goes to expel the charge, it pretty much does no damage. Otherwise, just interrupt it. You can see down the bottom, one of those Nimbuses is infested as well. So we're going to have somebody taunt that infested one out, and we're going to bring this Stormcaller over. The Stormcaller is going to cast a shock. The shock does actually a fair bit of damage, so you want to interrupt the shock where you can, and just make sure you're not standing in the little lightning pools on the ground. That's about it though for that, guys. We're going to kill this infested Nimbus now. We're going to kill our Gahoonies, and then we're moving down. Now in 8.1, a nice little change is they made the orbs in these little orb maze go slower, meaning that they no longer really sync up on top of each other for brief periods where you can't get through. So the orbs now move slower, making it easier to get through. If you are still struggling to get through orbs, warriors, you can heroic leap over. Demon hunters can double jump fell rush over. Druids can wild charge over. Void Elves, you can Void Elf racial over, run into sort of the gap of a beam. Like if it was coming around sort of like this, there was two beams and you're in here. Run into this middle section. This is the shittest diagram, sorry, but I'm not drawing it. Use your Void Elf racial so it starts sending it through. Backpedal a little bit so you don't get clipped, and then just hit your Void Elf racial and you'll go through to the other side once it's done its distance. So it takes a little bit to get the hang of, but you can also use that method as well. We're just going to CC the Stormcaller. We're going to kill the Nimbus here, and we're going to skip that Stormcaller down there. So just hugging the left wall, we're coming down to these packs here where there's obviously a lot more of these static charges here because it's teaming week. With the big thing here, guys, they will target only people in melee realistically. So what they'll do is you can see these little swirls on the ground. That's where they teleport to. Where they teleport, they do damage. What you want to do as a melee is basically just keep running back and forth or around in circles, trying to avoid those lightning swirls on the ground where they're teleporting to make sure that you're not taking damage. And that's about it. Kill these. It is worth mentioning on Sanguine weeks, they will drop an insta 5 stack of Sanguine pretty much and will full heal straight away, so you need to be aware of that. They also function on Explosive week, but that's it. They don't function on Grievous or Bursting weeks unless it got changed in 8.1. I haven't seen yet. Big thing with these as well, if they are spread out, they will teleport to where your group is. So if they are spread out, make sure your group kind of stacks up so you can have them all sort of port into an area where you can cleave them down. You can grip them though as well, but you cannot hard CC them. Cap doesn't work. Ring of Peace might work, but Leg Sweep doesn't. Yada, yada, yada. You get where I'm going with this. So we're going to kill them down, and then we're on to the third boss, Galvatron. It's not Galvatron, but it's Galvazat or something along those lines. So the third boss here had another change in 8.1. Galvazat, its beams are now a lot easier to see. They can still, pillars can still go in the stairs though and slightly cuck you over. It is easier to fight this in the middle, I find, than in the corner. Some groups like to drag it to the corner because you have no option for a beam to go on it from that corner then. I just find it easier in the middle. The big thing with Galvazat, guys, is making sure that you manage the beams. Pillars are going to spawn around and they're going to channel lightning towards the boss. If it goes into the boss, his energy bar fills up. If he reaches 100% energy, he unleashes a big bada boom, which does a lot of damage. So that is something that you need to be aware of. Now, as a DK, you can stand in front of these and you can use AMS. As a rogue, you can use Cloak. Demon Hunters can drop Darkness to help with things as well. I'm not sure of what other cheeses there might be for that, but honestly, everyone can take a full beam to a 6 stack, to a 10 stack. The main thing is making sure that you have people soaking in beams and you have some communication. Now you can see a beam got off and went full into him then and pretty much nearly insta brought him up to 90%. He fills up really quick. So you have to be on the ball in regards to who is going and taking stacks. Rogues are really powerful at doing this, but yeah, you really need to make sure that you are not letting him reach 100% energy. If he reaches 100% energy, does a hell of a lot of damage. He is very difficult on Tyrannical, so I would suggest saving hero for it. We saved our hero for this even on a fortified week, as he is he's a fair brick of a boss in regards to just making sure, you get through it. There's a fair healing requirement on it. You can see Culv's doing 30k HPS at the moment. I'm doing 13k HPS to myself. It does quite a bit of damage, guys. So that's it. Just make sure you've got good communication. Everyone's taking up to a 10 stack each and then waiting for their debuff to fall off before they get into another beam. And you should be Gucci. We're coming down here to the next beam set again. You can see I got hit there. I call absolute bullshit. Since they slowed these down, guys, it is ridiculously easier to get through here now. It's crazy. So just take your time with it. It is a lot easier now since 8.1 if this was one of the scary parts for you. The orbs move a lot slower now. That was a very welcome change. So you get up to the end here and you've got this little channeler here. You just want to make sure that you're interrupting the channeler. He is going to put these little conduits on the ground. You don't want to be standing in them and taking damage. Interrupt the shocks. That's about it. Now, once he is dead, we are into the Orb Room. Now, the Orb Room can be a gigantic time sink. There are several different things that you can do in this Orb Room. One is you can send your tank off to get everything, speed pot, and just run around in circles with slows with all the mobs training on them. And then you can use other things to your advantage. Now, shamans in Ghost Wolf form cannot be slowed when they're carrying the orb. You just need to make sure that an Orb Guardian doesn't snatch the orb from them and run away, or the Faceless Conscripts here don't actually get aggro on them and hit them because they will lose the orb if that happens. Monks have Transcendence, Chi Torpedo, Rolls. If you're a Windwalker, you can Flying Serpent kick with the orb as well. Warlocks can use portals. Druids can wild charge to people, or a Druid can stay out of combat, get in stag form. Someone can then ride the Druid behind the big train of mobs out of combat. They can actually pick up the orb on the Druid's back and run and dunk the orb back in the eyes. You need to do the left and the right side in regards to getting the orbs in here. So we used Culve with Transcendence and the Void Elf racial here to do the first side really quickly. And then on the second side, we are using Zez in Ghost Wolf format to be able to run it back because, as I said, in Ghost Wolf, you can't be slowed with it, so it's quite quick to get through here. Managing this Orb Room, it's not... I don't want to say it's everything, but it's a massive part of this dungeon because if you fuck the Orb Room up, you can spend an enormous amount of time in here. So just be aware of that. Now on Sanguine weeks, it's only the Orb Guardians that will drop Sanguine. Explosive week is very tilting in here. Necrotic week is also very tilting in here. I'm trying to think back to the first Necrotic week if... I think it may have been only the Guardians that apply necrotic, but I can't remember on that one, guys. But either way, you want to have a plan moving into this Orb Room. So we're going to dunk the 2 eyes in. We're moving through. We're just going to kill everything that's remaining. If you're a full group of Night Elves, you can just Shadow Meld and reset it all. We're not, so we're just going to kill these remaining Orb Guardians, and that's it. Now, on the stairs here, I'm just going to pause my little video. Obviously, won't be this when I'm doing it. On the stairs here, you got a couple of options. If you have a rogue, you can shroud this entire part all the way down to the boss. Do the boss, and when you get the last phase and the 100% damage reduction buff, then you can go and pull all the stairs down into the room and you can kill it there. The other way is what we're going to do here. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this Hexa, and it's infested this week. Obviously, that'll change week to week. We're going to pull the Hexa all the way away from the Guardian. Now, the Guardians down the bottom are neutral mobs with that totem channeling to them, which causes them not to aggro or anything like that and remain them neutral. What you want to do is if you kill the Hexas and the mobs far enough away from them and the totem despawns, it will not aggro the Guardian. So we're just going to kill this infested one all the way up here, interrupting the lava burst from the Hexa. Totems despawned, that Guardian's just going to sit there and we're just going to run past it down to the bottom. Now, we're doing it like this because A, the Guardians actually apply a pretty nasty debuff to you, and B, we just don't actually need them to do them in this fashion, 4%. We are going to need them 4%, but we're going to drag them in with that method I was talking about with the Shrouded. Now, with the Shrouded method too, obviously if there's something infested, you might not want to drag that into everything, so you may need to do the method we did by pulling the Hexa up that's infested first, killing that. Then you could run past the Guardian and shroud this last pack and then pull everything in to the end. But I'll kind of show you as it goes through so that makes sense. So again, we're killing the Hexa and the Plague Doctor up here. We're interrupting the Chain Lightnings. We're interrupting the Lava Bursts. Pretty common sense there. And the Snake Charm. And then we're just going to run past this Guardian and we're into the final boss room. So we can see here we've got these Hexes. Now these Hexes around the boss will make up for percent as well. If you were looking at the percent thinking, are we going to be short? They'll make up, they're like 1.5% each, these Hexes. They cast a Lava Burst as well. Make sure you're interrupting them. They actually do a fair bit of damage on Fort Week as well. So we've just pulled 3 in here. When one dies, we'll end up pulling the 4th in. So I'll just skip through this. We didn't actually, sorry, so we're just going to kill the last one individually. We're going to kill this. We're going to make sure Culve gets full mana because the moment on Mythic Plus that we talk to the boss, it will start the encounter. So once Culve's got full mana, I am going to click on the boss here and it's going to start the encounter. 4 channelers or 4 Hexes are out channeling into the boss. You need to kill them. The big thing that's important here though is dropping the Heart Guardian straight away. He'll put a debuff on you called Heart Attack. The more stacks you get, the more pain you're in. It's a bad thing. Make sure that you're getting the Heart Guardian down ASAP whilst you move around killing your Hexes. Plague Doctors are going to spawn through this as well. You can CC them if you wish. Blind, Imprison, Paralysis. Otherwise, just make sure you are picking them up and interrupting them. You can grip them. They're susceptible to hard CC. Just make sure you're interrupting the Chain Lightning. It does a fair bit of damage. And the Snake Charm as well. Otherwise, someone is going to get charmed into a snake. Always make sure that you're pulling the Heart Guardians or the Plague Doctors onto the Hexes so you can be getting them down as quick as possible. What you're going to do is we're going to drop this last Hexa now over here, and then we're going to go and click on the orb. When you click, sorry, we've got one more Hexa up. I'm ahead of myself. We're going to drop this last Hexa here, and then we're going to click on this little green orb that spawns. You can see a green beam going into the boss. It's taking increased healing now. Now, if you have any classes that can off-heal, start pumping heals into the boss in the middle. In 8.1, this got changed where you can actually 2-phase this boss now, making it a hell of a lot easier now. Again, Plague Doctor is going to be spawning. Make sure you pick that up. If you get hit by the toads as well, guys, you will get a healing debuff on you. You do not want to let this go. You don't want to let this get on your healer as well. I'm pretty sure it applies a healing debuff to the heals they chalk out. Just make sure you keep them off your healer is pretty much the big thing for it. You also want to make sure if you've got AMS up as a DK that you run through and soak up those toads, as you won't get the debuff from it. If you've got a rogue with Cloak of Shadows, you can do the same thing. You can see here we're getting the Heart Guardian down, but there's a Plague Doctor over there that was casting, so Dugs has ran over and stunned it. I should have been over to grip that way sooner than that, so that's a little bit shit by me. Again, this can get a little bit overwhelming, so you just need to make sure that you've got your interrupts going out, make sure you're interrupting Plague Doctors, make sure that you're getting the Heart Guardians down ASAP, and you're always dragging Plague Doctors or Heart Guardians onto these hexes, as you need to get the hexes down ASAP, as they've got a healing debuff that's going out onto the boss, and you need to get them down to get that debuff off, so then you can click the orb and trigger off more healing onto the boss and try and get the boss up to its last phase. So you can see here the toads, they periodically spawn, as I said, ring a piece, leg sweep them, AMS, cloak and run through them if you can, otherwise just throw dots on them and try and get them down without being hit by them. Keep them off your healer, again, is the main thing. We've got the last orb going in now, so we're going to get to the last phase. This used to be a 2-phase encounter, guys. It is now 3-phaseable, so we pop hero on this last bit here, and Dugs is going to run up the stairs now. You remember those Heart Guardians that we dodged? We're now going to grab them and bring them back into this room, because with Empowerment, you are basically taking no damage at all, so you're not going to wipe here. All right? I want to say that you're not going to wipe here. Even if you get like 6 stacks from that Heart Guardian of Heart Attack, you're not going to die. You'll be feeling damage, but it is really hard to die through this empowerment bit, which is why if you can skip that last stair phase and drag it all into this, it is a huge bonus and a really easy time sink wise in regards to making up time here. So we're going to kill the 4 hexes. You do need to kill the hexes in order for this to finish. And we're going to have to kill the Guardians as well, because we need them for percent. So we're just going to finish this off right here. I'm just going to skip forward just a little bit here. That hex is dead, so we've got 2 Guardians left and the hexes, and that is pretty much it, guys. The 8.1 changes for this boss made it loads easier. Absolutely miles easier. And a lot quicker. So hopefully that helps you if you've been struggling in this dungeon. But that's pretty much it, guys. If you got any questions at all, please hit me up in the comments section below, and I will do my best to help you out if you need. But otherwise, thank you very much for checking out the video, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Come find me in Discord. Come say hi on Twitch. And I'll see you all next time. See you, fam.
The shadows